It's Jim, landsforyou.com. Today we're going to be talking about utilities on raw land, vacant land. So if you're looking at some land that you like, you think it looks good, but maybe you want to build on it now, maybe you want to build on it at some time in the future, there's a couple of things you got to consider. Primarily, if you want to build something on it and you want to have hot water, you're going to need utilities. So you're going to need power in the area, you're going to need water in the area, depending on what you're looking to do. So a lot of the land that people sell, it's rural vacant land in the middle of nowhere, you don't need power. If you're buying an infill lot in the middle of a subdivision, it's safe to assume that that would have power and water. But there's a lot of land that's in between. And you don't know if it has power, it has water. So I'm going to show you just a couple of ways that you can check and get to the bottom of it. Because if you're going to build, you need to know exactly what you're doing. And these are things that, I'm just looking over my notes here. There's some things that the county can tell you, but there's some things you can't. And you're going to have to Google it, or you're going to have to call around, and you're going to have to do some sleuthing yourself. So I'm going to try and help you out as best I can. So let's start with power, and then we'll go to water. So if you buy land, let's just zoom in on an area like Holbrook here. What you can do, you can take a look at where the land is located. And sometimes you can just use, let me move my big old head. You can sometimes just use Google Maps and just get an overview, and you can just kind of zoom in and you can say, okay, are there power poles in the area? Sometimes you can just look online and see if there's power poles nearby. And depending on where you're looking, you can see little pockets. You can see, okay, this is an industrial area. There's probably some power poles here. And you can kind of see where people are. That's probably where you're going to get power poles, So you can see that, this is an area that probably has power and water, safe to assume. So looking at power poles is just an obvious way to check. If they're right there, then power is obviously going to be available. Now, what you can do if you don't know, you can always call the county. So this one's Coconino County. You just type in the county in Arizona, Apache County, Navajo County, any county, just type in planning and zoning. Just give them a call and say, here's the parcel number. So you need to have the APN. You say, who services this area? Sometimes they might say APS, which is it Arizona? Yeah, Arizona Public Service. They do a lot. They might say Navapache, which is like a more regional electric company. They might say, we don't know. So in that case, you'd have to call one of these local providers like APS or Navapache and ask them. Sometimes they'll say, you can call the town. So maybe the town of Concho, just as an example, might service it. So they're a good first stop to point you in the right direction, and they can even tell you, call APS or call Navapache. It might be one of those two. That's always the best way to do it. It helps to have the parcel number handy. Obviously, with vacant land, a lot of the land doesn't have a fixed address because it's just, GPS coordinates. You're not going to be able to tell them a coordinate, but if you give them a parcel number, what they can do is, then see what area of the county it's in, and then they'll know potentially which one of the service providers would service that area. A couple of other ones are Arizona G&T cooperatives. I think they're down south in Cochise County. And then Sulphur Springs, another electrical cooperative that's down south as well. So a lot of times you call up these places, Sierra Vista, Benson, that area. So down south. So a lot of times you call these places up, they might point you to somewhere else. So it takes a little bit of digging sometimes. So the other thing I wanted to mention, very, very important, sometimes you can ask these power companies, you say, hey, do you service this area? And you have to be very careful because they might say, yes, we service this area, but that doesn't mean that your parcel is ready to go. And they might also say, we service this area and there's a power pole nearby. And you want to ask them specifically, what is the cost to get it to my particular parcel? Because I've heard, and I actually wrote this down, because this happened to me one time. There was a pole a quarter mile away, so not a crazy far distance away. The cost to bring the power just a quarter mile in this particular location, and of course every location's a little bit different. The cost to get power a quarter mile away from a power pole cost a minimum, they said, $25,000. So just because they say, oh, there's a power pole half a mile away, a quarter mile away, ask them specifically, what will it cost me to get it to my parcel? Because if they need to drill more holes, and put more poles in the ground, that could be a huge expense for them. And so you want to make sure you ask them specifically, what is it going to cost me to get it hooked up to my parcel? And see what they say, right? They might say, oh, then we got to consult an engineer. But you don't want to assume just because there's power nearby, it's going to be something, you or an electrician can just do on your own. You might need their equipment. They might need to drill more, stick more poles in the ground to get the power to you. So that's it for power. You can always call around, and hopefully that will, get you the answers that you need. The county, unfortunately, doesn't have all the answers just ready to go. So you got to kind of work with them to, go in the right direction. As far as water goes, again, you want to go back to planning and zoning, and you want to say, who services this area? Is there water and sewer at this APN number, at this parcel number? And so a couple of things they might say, yes, we do it ourselves. And, yes, there is, or no, there isn't. You might get a clean yes, no. You might get sent to a company like Livco, where, again, it's a water company. They do some, water servicing of the area. So counties might work with companies like this to kind of outsource, or different companies have, they service the area for your water needs. So you might get pointed in their direction. So you, again, want to have the parcel number available for them. The other note that I have from calling, I've called planning and zoning so many times about parcels. One of the things they'll always do, not always, but a lot of times, and I've had this recently in Yavapai County, they'll say, we don't know if there's water there, but give us the APN number and we'll put you on a list, and they'll send someone out to the site and it'll take 30 days. So just be aware. Even though you give them the parcel number, you can tell them exactly where it is. A lot of times the county won't know, and they'll have to send someone out to the site. So they told me it could be up to 30 days. So this is something that you can try looking on Google Maps, and you can see, is there a shop nearby, and maybe you can ask them if they have a water hookup. But if it's in an area where you're not sure, you might end up having to have the county or the town send someone out to the site to check it themselves. And that can take a long time. So just be aware of that going in. But again, planning and zoning is your best bet. And they can always point you in the right direction. So I think that's pretty much it. The only other thing I want to say, just in general, is if you're going to buy land, before you close and get the deed in your name, if it's important to you to have those utilities, make sure you check ahead of time. On land that I sell, I always have a 30-day guarantee, right? So it's fair for me, it's fair for the buyer, because you have a whole month to check it out, make sure you understand exactly what you're getting yourself into. But a lot of times people might not have that. So if you buy land off someone and then they deed it over to you, and then you find out it's not exactly what you like, you could be stuck with it then. And, then you are going to have a tough time selling it. You might not want to keep it. So just make sure you take the time to call the places, ask around. And if you have any questions, just let me know. I'll be happy to take a look and share my knowledge. And if you have any questions, you can also email us at sales@landsforyou.com, or you can also text us right here at this number. I hope that was informative and helpful. And if you have any questions, just reach out to us. We're always here for you. Take care. Talk soon. Bye.